Let's talk about rolled shoulders today. Checking your phone often, you get a computer way too much, or you're driving, right? Shoulders forward, everything's dipping forward. Are you a boxer, MMA fighter? You're doing a lot of bench press, okay? Everything that we're doing on the anterior is now starting to pull and extend the posterior. So our shoulders get stuck in a rounded position. There are two pieces to this release, and if you know me, you follow me, you're following PSO-RITE, you know that if we're talking about muscle, it's a bunch of baby talk. We want to look at the global perspective of fascia and how it's holding our body. Because whatever holds us, molds us. And that can include holding us and molding us in a painful position. So we're going to go ahead right now and start with the PSO-RITE to show you how to get these pesky rolled shoulders flattened out. Step number one, we want to get into the pec minor muscle and a little bit into the front of our front delt, okay? The easier way that we're going to do that is to get the PSO-RITE up on a box, something like this, where you don't have to be on the floor and be a little bit on the uncomfortable side, plus you have a lot more room for mobility when you're up here. What we want to do is get that peak first right into that pec minor, right where the chest meets the shoulder. From this position, we can start to extend the arm, and what we're going to do as we apply pressure to that pec minor muscle, we are going to open that muscle up mechanically under our own power. We're going to stretch those myofibrils. We're going to release the fascia in a much easier way than if we were to just use direct pressure and sit there, or if we were to just try and stretch our chest, okay? Remember, this is a fascial problem that's holding and collapsing the shoulders. We got to get pressure up in there first, okay? And then through an active stretch while pressurizing that area of the fascia, we get it to expand again, okay? And once we finish with this, 2 to 3 minutes, now we can actually work on the rhomboids, the fascia of the rhomboids, in order to get those guys to retract and get that shoulder back to where it needs to be. Step number two, after we have pressurized the front portion of that pec and shoulder, we want to get on the PSO spine now in between the shoulder blades, which are called the rhomboids. Now, our task is going to be to take the fascia and actually have it retract a little bit more, pulling those shoulder blades together, getting the shoulder in a better position. The way that we're going to do that, laying on our back with the PSO spine in between our rhomboids, we're going to have our arms up overhead, and rather than doing a stretch, we're actually going to be bringing that fascia together, okay? And now from this position, I can actually wiggle around on those rhomboids a little bit, up and down as well, okay? I'm going to externally rotate my shoulders now, get my hands on the floor, same thing. The basic premise of this mobilization is just getting those shoulder blades together underneath the pressure of that PSO spine, okay? Externally rotate, internally rotate. Get that pressure deep into those rhomboids to help that fascia release and retract. A bonus, if you have a PSO back, same thing, get in between those rhomboids, okay? But this time, we don't have to lean so far back. We get those peaks of the PSO back right in between the shoulder blades. And once again, we can do our retractions with the peaks in between the shoulder blades. We can externally rotate, we can internally rotate. okay? We just wanna get that pressure on those rhomboids, maybe get a little bit lower too. Same thing right here. Now I can actually extend or contract a little bit more in this position. So it's a little bit more of an advanced move. If you have the SO back and the SO spine, start off doing it with the SO spine to warm up, and then move to the SO back to get a little bit deeper in there to get those rounded shoulders feeling so good.